A bloodbath tonight in the rural town of Chinook.
Everyone here is hiding a secret.
4 more victims found scattered.
Some worse than others.
I came as fast as I could. I'm Deputy Ruth Vogel.
And soon, my quiet life will never be the same.
Realm presents a 30 Ninjas production, Chinook, starring Kelly Marie Tran and Sanaa Lathan. Listen to Chinook wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, I'm Jennifer, a co-founder of the Go Kid Go network. At Go Kid Go, putting kids first is at the heart of every show that we produce. That's why we're so excited to introduce a brand new show to our network called The Search for the Silver Lining, a fantasy adventure series about a spirited young girl named Isla who time travels to the mythical land of Camelot. During her journey, Isla meets new friends, including King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table, and learns valuable life lessons with every quest, sword fight, and dragon ride. Positive and uplifting stories remind us all about the importance of kindness, friendship, honesty, and positivity. Join me and an all-star cast of actors including Liam Neeson, Emily Blunt, Kristen Bell, Chris Hemsworth, among many others, in welcoming the Search for the Silver Lining podcast to the Go Kid Go network by listening today. Look for the Search for the Silver Lining on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts.
In 2005, two brothers hit the road to chase demons and fight monsters.
Fighting a couple of angels, too.
And eventually save the world.
A bunch of times. Over 15 years, this series has built one of the most dedicated fan bases in all of entertainment, and that fan base is near and dear to our hearts.
That's right. I'm Rob Benedict. I played Chuck Shirley, a.k.a. God.
And you do a darn good job, too, buddy.
Aw, thanks.
Well, I'm Richard Spade Jr. I played Loki, the Trickster, and Gabriel, and I directed a bunch of episodes.
Wow, is that it?
Well, I directed you. I don't know. What do you think?
Though we worked on the show for years, we never sat down and watched the entire series.
But that was then, and this is now.
That's right. We are watching each episode and inviting the actors, the writers, producers, and crew to join us in digging into the story, the characters, and the mythology.
These guests share some fantastic behind-the-scenes stories with us. You're going to love those, and you're going to get our honest opinion about each and every episode. That's right. Those guests share some fantastic behind-the-scenes stories with us, and each episode gets a full, honest, and unfettered review from Rob and Rich. And you get to learn a little bit about how TV is made. Lord knows we have.
A warning, there are spoilers. And don't get frustrated that we haven't cut details for multiple viewings or that we know what happens 3 seasons from now. This is the first time we're watching these episodes. And you're there for the ride as we watch with our virgin eyes.
Oh, that's creepy. Thanks for joining us on our journey as we deepen our understanding about why you love this series so much.
Hey, everybody. Season 5.
Season 5,
finished.
Robert. A lot of people didn't think we'd make it this far. Most of those people were the 3 of us, but we did. And here we are.
Yeah, and let me tell you something. Hands down, best season so far. I mean, it was really just so many good episodes in this season, I think. And to be, Eric Kripke's final season, I feel like it was elevated. Stakes have never been higher.
I know, but that's a big statement to say. A lot of people would say season 1, like getting the show launched was the best season ever. I don't know.
Who are you? I don't even know you anymore.
It's a compliment to the show. I'm just saying, every time you think the show has done something crazy out of the box and it can't be touched, they do elevated shows. I will say, it's so complicated. Like now you've got the show, if you rewind to our beginning days and as hosting this podcast and you're talking about the show of 2 brothers and the dad, complex story.
Yeah.
But not nearly as complex as it gets when you start bringing in angels and Lucifer himself and all this. It's really, really intricate stuff.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And it just keeps elevating it. The stakes keep getting higher and the stories keep getting richer. And I don't know, to me, it's just, you're right. Yeah. Every season's great, but every season seems to have you go, oh, wow, they didn't think they could do it and they did.
Exactly. That's so true.
So it's been quite a journey. Every season has surpassed expectations.
Right, but now we have this massive problem in front of us.
Wait, real quick. I got a question for you guys. And I was thinking about this.
Steve Hine, producer Steve Hine's on the phone.
Steve Hine's called in. Steve?
Longtime listener.
I was thinking about this the other day. I've never watched over 100 episodes of a TV series. I mean, I've watched all of Breaking Bad and I've watched like all of Game of Thrones, but of a network TV show, I've never watched over 100 episodes, especially in order.
Yeah. And even like,
neither have I.
Like Breaking Bad, how many episodes would that have been?
Not 100.
Yeah.
Because they did 13 episode seasons.
6 seasons of like 10 to 13 episodes. It's true, Steve. I think agreed.
Dude, great point, Steve Hine.
Yeah.
Just when I'm about to mute you, you say something majestic.
Just as you're about to mute him, you realize you don't have the power to mute him.
Right. Damn it. I have not even come close to that. Not even come close. That's
good point.
That's amazing. And in order, as
Let
you
me
say.
Pause before we get into this.
Everybody calm down. Rob needs a moment. Everybody
I just want
pause.
to say thanks to everyone who's joining us live on Patreon right now. This is a live stream, so we have a live audience. We're recording this in front of a live studio audience.
We're live. That's why you'll hear real laughter.
And we're glad you're here to help us pick our top 5 episodes of season 5 and to answer any questions you might have. So this is exciting.
I do not envy the 3 a-holes who have to whittle this season down to 5 great ones and eventually the one great one. I mean, I would hate to be one of these 3 jerks.
3 beards and 2 hats.
What about Trey? Is Trey gonna mail in his votes? I mean, is he just a silent partner these days? Like, what's going on with him?
Steve,
we'll get Trey to post his to Twitter.
We'd like,
Trey's got to weigh in. He can't
we'll
go.
Trey
He can't.
The season 6 wrap up.
Yeah, we need Trey back.
Yeah, he can't be unscathed in our reviews.
Well, let me clarify too. We've got our producer Steve Hine on with us live in the studio, and this is a treat. Steve usually ducks out and is never to be seen, so this is exciting. He's not only the producer of all the episodes, he's the producer of all the episodes. Steve Hine, everybody. Yeah,
hello.
And I'm looking at the chat room. We have a question about Steve Hine. Has he recently had work done? Yes, he has.
You can see my fillers.
We're not going to tell you where, but he's had some filler and some
he
lip
knew he was
work.
going to be on camera, so.
That's why he's letting us show his face.
So let's get into picking our top 5. How do we want to do this, gentlemen?
Well, let's just go down the list. And I think we need to do a quick reminder.
Okay.
Is this crazy? But like just power through these episodes to go remind ourselves what they were.
Steve, you okay with that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
All right, so here we go. We're just going to rotate. 1, 2, 3. I'll start with 1. 501, Sympathy for the Devil. Lucifer has risen from the pit. Boys deal with the aftermath. They must find Michael's sword.
And this is the one where they appear on the airplane and call back to that times in the season.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, they
and it was
flash
actually
the
ultimately God who kind of put them on that plane to kind of get them out of the pit as it
I did.
That light consumed them.
I knew that. Episode 502, Good God, Y'all. Small town overrun by demons. Ellen and Joe join the hunt. We meet the horsemen war.
And that's, of course, Titus Welliver.
In that sweet red car, that red Mustang.
Yeah.
Was it red Mustang or red Camaro? I forget.
Something red.
503 was Free to Be You and Me. Sam has given up hunting, and Dean and Castiel track down the angel Raphael to try and find God. This is where, remember, Raphael manifests, and you see those cool electrical bolts shooting out of the back of him.
Yeah.
Right.
Demore Barnes as Raphael.
Yes.
The end. Dean visits a possible future and meets himself. That's like Dean running the renegade rebel band of fighters, and Dean meets Dean, and Jared's wearing a white suit.
And we get Chuck in there too. Chuck, don't forget Chuck running around.
Yeah, I'm...
right? Chuck tries to hug somebody.
No.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
No, isn't there a joke where you make
I'm kind of flirting with one of the girls, and she wants nothing to do with me.
Yeah,
that
that's funny.
Bit. But yeah, I'm radar, and I'm trying to I'm just keep you track and telling everyone to hoard toilet paper.
Right.
The 505 is called Fallen Idols, and that's the one where there's a case where people are murdered by icons. So James Dean's car, Paris Hilton, Abraham Lincoln, and the guest star was Paris Hilton, right?
Paris Hilton.
Then we have I Believe That Children Are the Future. It's written by Andrew Dabb and Daniel Laughlin. This is where the boys go investigate crimes where they're done in the theme of like fairy tales, and we meet the Antichrist who ultimately bails for Australia.
Right. And I remember that episode of podcasting was the one where I couldn't get through the title without Richard saying, like, I believe that as well. It's a good point, Rob. We could barely get through that. Every time I said this.
That's so funny. I can tell that these are recently discussed with your therapist because they're so fresh in your mind. I can't remember.
A lot of things you say are scarred in my mind.
Yeah, I know. You're welcome. Curious Case of Dean Winchester. That's had a good interview with Hal Osen. He was the poker player, the witch that steals years from your life in the games of poker.
And then forgettable episode 508, Changing Channels. Changing Channels, one of the season's best episodes. Rich is there, and the boys move in between TV shows, all created by the Trickster.
And we have 509, The Real Ghostbusters, featuring the fabulous Rob Benedict. This is kind kind of a great episode because it's where the show really acknowledges the fans and kind of gives a send up to them and everything that's going on with the fandom.
Yeah, agreed. 510, abandon all hope. The boys have the cult and try and go kill Lucifer. Ellen and Joe die.
Ellen and Joe die. I mean, that was a big one, remember?
Yeah, man. That's heavy lifting there.
511, Sam interrupted. A former hunter calls Sam and Dean to help from inside a mental institution. Yeah, what happens there?
That's the guy from... they pretend to be crazy. I think that's where he drops his pants.
Oh,
and goes
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It's the guy from Napoleon Dynamite and the most recent season of...
Yes, that guy's great.
White.
What was it was...
John Grease.
Right. Good call.
I was just thinking of the guy who was the guest star from Home Alone was actually in Real Ghostbusters, the older brother.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's great.
512.
Swap
meet. Teenage boy uses witchcraft to switch bodies with Sam. They made a deal that they would keep, if he could switch bodies with Sam, they would bring in Dean. If you guys remember that episode.
Yeah, I thought it was great because it's like these teenagers get way over their head and actually bring demons into the whole situation. And that guy, Sam has to go to that kid's house and have dinner with the parents. And meanwhile, that guy is running around Dean going, I'm going to hook up with these chicks.
Yeah. And Bob directed this episode, and I think he did some great camera work with like we see Sam, but everybody sees the boy kind of trick.
Right.
Yeah. And what was the actor's name? It was something James was the kid, but he did a really good job.
Yep.
Yeah. The song remains the same. And it goes back in time to kill Mary Winchester. Sam and Dean pursue.
That's the one we had Matt and Amy on. That's the one where Matt, at the end of it, is Michael for a second, right?
Right. Yes.
514, My Bloody Valentine. They think it's Cupid, but it's actually the Horseman Famine. That's where we had Lex.
Yeah, you have that great opening scene where the couple like are passionately making out and eat each other.
Oh yeah, right.
Each other, yeah.
And then like the weird, like even Castiel is like shoving beef in his mouth. It was just
that's
gross.
Right.
So gross. 515 was Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid. This was the boys go back to Bobby's town because all the people are coming back from the dead. We meet Bobby's
dead wife.
You get that whole story.
Yeah.
And then we meet Sheriff Jody Mills for the first time.
Yeah, we do.
Incredible interview with Jim Beaver to talk about how he connected with that actress because
really emotional.
Yeah. And how the death of his first wife really kind of influenced his performance.
Yeah. That was amazing. And Kim Rhodes, just so sweet.
Yep.
One of my favorite moments from the episode is with the town folk are like, who told you the town drug Bobby? And it's like,
exactly. You realize he's a train wreck.
It's like, whoa, that's good. Is that what they talk about me when I'm out of the room?
I thought that was
the town drunk Rob Benedict. All right, Rich, you're up.
We are at the dark side of the moon. Sam and Dean go to heaven. Relive moments in their past, discover their differences.
And Chad Lindbergh is there, the kid.
Yeah, the kid.
And he's nailing it. Chad Lindbergh's doing some great work up in heaven. Yeah. And joined us on the podcast, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, we've got 99 Problems with where a woman claims to be a prophet, but she's actually the whore of Babylon.
Man, that happens to me all the time. Yeah. Like a woman would claim to be a really handy mechanic, but turns out, nope, whore of Babylon. Like all the time. You get that switcheroo.
But she was great. She did a great job. Not easy being the
Yeah, she was a great interview as well.
Kayla May Maloney.
Then we have 518, Point of No Return.
Oh, man.
Zachariah brings Adam back to life to kind of trick Dean into being the vessel. This was Jake Abel, who was introduced in, I think it was 419. It's great to see him back in the mix.
Mm-hmm.
I'm drawing a blank on this one.
Isn't it Kurt Fuller's?
Yeah, Kurt Fuller's giving his job back. I remember that moment when like the...
Oh, so it starts at the bar?
Yes.
And then, Michael, we thought it was God giving him his job back, but it was actually Michael gives him his job back, and he kind of does this trick and brings Adam back to life to try and trick Dean into becoming the vessel. And Kurt Fuller, amazing job, killed it again. Gets stabbed in the neck or stabbed in the face by Dean with the angel blade. Yeah,
exactly.
It's you, Rich. 519.
519, Hammer of the Gods. Pagan gods gather to try and stop Lucifer. They die. Gabriel dies. #sigh. Gabriel's always dying. I think Gabriel dies twice in this one.
Again. 520, The Devil You Know. They stop Croatoan virus, find the location of pestilence, and there's a hellhound fight. Mark Shepard is heavily in this one. 521, Steve.
521, 2 minutes to midnight. This is the episode, of course, how do I say it, Rob? The penultimate.
Penultimate.
Bobby sells Crowley his soul. They defeat pestilence, and we get that excellent introduction of Death. And then at the end, Dean and Death make a deal so that he can have Dean can get Death's ring to complete the 4 rings. Open the gate to hell to capture Lucifer again.
And 522, Swan Song. Sam says yes to Lucifer. Lucifer and Michael almost face off. Chuck tells us the story of Baby, which inevitably leads to the story of the boys. All right. Those are 22 humdinger episodes,
man. We have a tricky job ahead of us.
Were you guys making notes during that? I was kind of making...
Mentally.
Man, if I just... I mean, it's hard to get it down to 5 just off the top. It's hard to get down to 5.
Hey, this is Mark Shepard. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
As a podcast network, our focus is bringing you shows you love to listen to. But we also sell merch related to those shows. And partnering with Shopify has made that both possible and simple for us to do. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor adventures, Shopify helps you sell everywhere because they've got you covered from their all-in-one e-commerce platform to their in-person POS system. What's so fantastic about Shopify is how, no matter how big you want to grow, they provide everything you need to get control of your business so you can take it to the next level. Businesses that grow with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm. That's all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/realm.
Hi, I'm Jennifer, a founder of the Go Kid Go Network. At Go Kid Go, putting kids first is at the heart of every show that we produce. That's why we're so excited to introduce a brand new show to our network called The Search for the Silver Lining, a fantasy adventure series about a spirited young girl named Isla who time travels to the mythical land of Camelot. Look for The Search for the Silver Lining on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Thank you for supporting Supernatural then and now. And now, back to the show.
Okay, here's what I'd like to do, if I may suggest.
Each of us should pick one episode that's got to be this one.
How about we each pick 3 just to start the conversation? Like the 3, like what are the 3 that like have to be?
I've got mine.
Okay, 3 that you think absolutely you're going to go to the mat on this. Okay, Rob, you start with the 3. These have to be in the top 5.
These are Rob Benedict's 3 that I think have to be in the top 5. The first is Changing Channels. Classic episode. You've got all the different TV shows. It's unique television. It's funny. You got classic Richard Spade Jr., Changing Channels. The second one for me is The Real Ghostbusters. Like Steve was saying, it's the first time we're sort of acknowledging the fans, the show within the show. Very uniquely done and funny. And then finally, I would say Swan Song. You have to me, Swan Song was the best episode of the season and just really poignant. Eric Kripke in top form, laying to rest his book of Supernatural, his 5 seasons.
Okay, all strong choices. I'm going to say, here are my 3 that I absolutely feel like have to be in there. I'm going to say Swan Song because I think it's a given. It's just too strong an episode to even be a debate. I'm going to say Abandon All Hope. I think the Ellen and Joe death is monumental, and how they deal with loss and how they deal gearing up for the battle and all of that. I think it's just a substantial episode of TV. And I got to go 2 Minutes to Midnight.
Wow.
I stand behind the character intro of Death is one of the best character intros of anything ever done on any television show ever. I got to go.
You're not doing Changing Channels.
Well, I feel like it might make the top 5, but I was doing 3 of the mat. I feel like those are the 3 for reasons.
Okay. Steve Hine.
Let's see.
I would love it if Steve did like the 3 shittiest episodes. Definitely going to be.
Swan Song, without a doubt, has to be on the list. It's probably the best episode, I think, of this first 5 seasons. And then I'm going to throw in some zingers. Some zingers.
All right.
I think The End should be on the list.
The End is good.
I think The End is a great episode.
But I got to remind myself, The End.
The End is where Dean meets future Dean.
Yeah. That would not be in my top ones, but I get it.
It's a really outside the box episode. You see the characters in a different way you haven't seen them before. You see Sam like not resisting Lucifer, but like actually Jared Padalecki's performance kind of fully embracing Lucifer, not this kind of like push-pull kind of yin-yang kind of version of Sam with Lucifer. You see, I think, 2 versions of Dean. Jensen kills it, both versions. And so you got these great, both the guys, Jared and Jensen, deliver, I think, some of the best performances that they did this season. I love seeing Castiel as a different version of the character.
That was funny.
I love seeing kind of an alternate version of Chuck where he's kind of fully embraced as like a member of the squad. And it's still kind of pre-God, a pre-God version of Chuck. And I love kind of the message of it of like, Dean Winchester, this is the future you're headed down if you don't figure this out. And I love the way they kind of foretells that. And I think it's a great Ben Edlund, always just with his dialogue and his structure and his jokes, and he just always nails it. I always love a good solid Ben Edlund episode.
Okay, so is that your first one you picked? Oh, Swan Song. Okay, so what's number 3?
My third one is going to probably throw some controversy in here, but it's like, everyone that you got, we've all identified so far are huge kind of mythology episodes that are huge kind of plot points. And I think, you mentioned this, Rob, earlier on, because we just recorded the episode covering Swan Song right before this. You mentioned something that like in watching Swan Song, it kind of like made you reevaluate all of season 5. Like it made it all make sense. And I think a lot of the episodes do that, but this one is not one of those episodes. This one is a very unique episode in that like it's a monster of the week episode. And that's a curious case of Dean Winchester. I just think it's a great standalone episode.
Okay.
And I think in our top 5, I think not every one of them has to be like a big mythology episode.
Oh, I loved that episode, and I thought Hal was a great actor in the show and a great interview, and I thought that was a really interesting episode. I see why you liked that one. I had a couple of thoughts about ones that were not. I mean, I have 2 in my list of episodes that I would, on a different season, I think would be
You were a big into the Paris Hilton one, right?
Niet. No, I liked 99 Problems. Kayla Mae Maloney one, where Larry Poindexter is the priest and his daughter, and we think they've created like a community where they're all going to survive, and then you slowly realize. I like the slow reveal of who the bad person was and how twisted that story got. And I also thought Swap Meet was great. I thought Swap Meet was super fun. There's a humor when Sam is the dorky guy.
Yeah.
There was a lot of humor in there. I thought that was awesome. I thought the teenage guest stars, or they probably weren't teenagers, but they were playing teenagers, were great. And I thought it was just a really fun
Hammer
turn.
of the Gods is great with that table of all the pagan gods.
Yeah.
The scene with you and Lucifer.
Yeah. And what's funny is like I didn't put that on my list, but it does have like, how like people have you use that line, hoard toilet paper, or you get, for me, it's Lucifer, you're my brother and I love you, but you're a great big bag of dicks is a nonstop quotable line that I sign and write, and it's in that episode, and it's a great.
What we didn't talk about in our Swan Song episode just now was ass butt. Like when he first uses ass butt, Castiel says ass butt, and they're like, "Did you say ass?" I was like, "Oh, that's where that comes from."
I love Hammer of the Gods. Once Mark Pellegrino comes into the episode, it goes from it ratchets it up from like 10 to 11.
Yes,
100%. I think that whole episode is a really clever. Having read the American Gods book and then doing that episode, I'm like, I love what the context of this. I love the idea that pagan gods are getting together to debate. I mean, I thought it was a really clever first time they've introduced other religious figures, or at least that I can remember, who are non-Judeo-Christian.
Right.
We're like, hey, we also have a stake in this. I thought it was very clever.
Just to pause to say, one of the things that's just looking at these episodes is so great about this season is you've got great episodes for some really solid guest stars, like Pellegrino killing it, Mark Shepard, couple great Mark Shepard episodes.
Kim Rhodes.
Jim Beaver has that great episode, Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid.
You have a couple
I get a couple. You get a couple.
Real Ghostbusters and Swan Song, at least, to name 2.
Yeah.
And I ended up with 2 good ones. Changing Channels and...
Hammer of the Gods and Changing Channels.
Yeah.
And Matt Cohen and Amy Gumenick have a good episode.
Chad's back up in heaven.
Yeah. To me, like The Devil You Know with Shepard is great episode because of Shepard.
Devil You Know is highlighted for me, by the way, to be debated, because great elements of the episode. I also think Bob Singer directed the daylights out of it.
Yeah.
All those, like the invisible dogfight is so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some elements that are just so well done.
I'm also a big fan of and maybe it's just because I love the time travel episodes, because I loved the end as well, but the song remains the same. I just love seeing backstory of Baby and early John Winchester. And, I think Matt Cohen kind of, doing his change from John Winchester to Michael. And I love it.
Can you name this is a harder question here. I think this is hard to do, but can you name your least favorite episode of the seaason? People in the chat room too. Do you have a least favorite?
I think for me, it's the Paris Hilton one. Just because remember that whole final scene with her, it just feels like really kind of sophomoric.
I didn't like, which is the one I didn't like.
That was Fallen Idols.
Fallen Idols.
I remember there's one in the last 10 episodes where
Dark Side of the Moon.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember not liking that. I just didn't, it kind of felt like a Christmas Carol for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the same thing at the time, but I think when I was writing this document and I was like looking at like the arc of the entire season, I could see on the board Eric looking at this entire season as a whole and the beats he wanted to hit to wrap it up. And like, he wanted to wrap up Ellen and Joe's story. He knew that like once like he was looking at the second half of the season, like where Dark Side of the Moon is and like where he wanted to end it. And he wanted to give the audience this kind of great Sam and Dean character moments, like greatest hits moments of their life, that builds upon kind of that montage we end up seeing in 522 with Baby. That to me kind of like was the purpose of Dark Side of the Moon. Because when I saw it, I thought the same thing. Like this isn't adding to this arc. Like this isn't progressing the current story.
Mm-hmm.
But when I look at it in hindsight from 522, I think it serves a bit of a purpose.
You know what episode we haven't named was Sympathy for the Devil, the first episode of the season where we meet Nick, Lucifer.
Yes.
We meet Pellegrino's vessel and the whole Lucifer taking over that vessel. That's
yeah, man. It's also awesome. Everything you say is true. I always think that especially that one is a hard one to make a top 5 because it's the second half. It feels like
it is.
It's not even really a standalone
but like,
per se.
Yeah, but just to finish that, Sympathy for the Devil, I remember when I watched it for the first time back in the day, just feeling like Pellegrino gave like a cinematic performance, like that the whole, Lucifer taking him deciding to let Lucifer take Kim over.
How many episodes is Kurt Fuller in this season? 2?
2. He's in Sympathy for the Devil, and then and then I think just the one that he dies in, Point of No Return.
Every time he comes back into the show, I think the show elevates.
For sure.
I love what he does.
You know why this is hard also is because like when we watched Sympathy for the Devil and Good God, Y'all, it was March.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Well, guys, should we sort of look at our list here?
So I kept some notes.
Okay.
I mean, obviously,
Swan Song got all of 3. It was the only one that we all 3 voted on.
That's true, Rob, in context to let's all pick 3 episodes. But there are some that you said that to me are no-brainer home runs. I named some also that you hadn't named for the conversation. But if we're really getting down to brass tacks, I think Swan Song, Changing Channels, and Real Ghostbusters are a lock, in my opinion, for top 5.
Yeah, same.
And by the way, can we just tip our cap to the fact that they have back-to-back Changing Channels and
Ghostbusters.
Real Ghostbusters, just 2 home run humor episodes. Like really just not giving a shit that they're a dark show. We're going 2 joke episodes that'll be standouts for the season.
In the front half of the season. It's crazy.
I know.
I think both of you also called out The Devil You Know, right?
I did not call it The Devil You Know, although I said I loved it because of the
Hellhound fight and Shepard being vintage Shepard.
Correct. Shepard being Shepard in the Hellhound fight. But again, I got to go.
I think The End might have to be in the top 5.
I'll give you this. I'll give you the consensus.
The End is not in my top 8. I did not even name that.
Oh, well, then we can't do it. We don't.
I'll agree on Changing Channels. Real Ghostbusters, definitely my top 7. Would I put it in the top 5? I'm gonna hold on.
It's definitely my top 22.
Definitely my top in the season 5. I think it's one of my favorites of.
So we have consensus on Changing Channels and Swan Song so far.
Ghostbusters were not. Oh,
I'm reserving. I'm not going to say. If it ends up in the list, I'll be very happy. But I think.
All right, let's lock in.
Well, Steve, let's talk about it though. Like, what about it doesn't rank for you?
There's episodes just I like a little more. Like I like The End.
Do you not like the humor of it?
I love the humor of it. I just think it's almost like.
Yes, but notes specifically for me, or
Rob's performance, just like.
Yeah, do you think Rob made bad choices?
I guess my only thing is like, is it too much of like a, like, is it almost like a one-off of like, hey, here's a love letter to the fans?
I think so here's what I'm gonna counterpoint your point. I think you got to look at this in context of history. No show had done what that show did when it came out. Conventions were new, even in they weren't new to Star Trek, but like from the convention universe of Supernatural, it was very new. And for Supernatural to sort of embrace that out of the gate and find a way to tell a story about conventions with fans involved and fans not being the butt of the joke, that delicate balance. I just thought I think it's a more sophisticated episode than people give it credit for.
Yeah, that like people cosplaying as Sam and Dean in front of actual Sam and Dean, you know?
It was genius. It kind of, to me, it's a precursor to
French Mistake.
The one coming up that we'll get to.
Yeah.
French
I'm not
Mistake,
disagreeing with you. I think it's well crafted, well performed. I think.
Okay, now somebody has said, I'm going to read this because I think it's interesting. Not everyone agrees that the fans weren't the butt of the joke. Lots of complaints about Becky and the treatment of Becky. Okay, that's interesting.
Like they weren't in on the joke? Is that the...
I hadn't looked at it that way. Well, I think the moment where LARPers explain to Dean why they love LARPing, why the brothers' lives are so interesting to them, why they would rather be them any day, explaining their boring day-to-days, that was powerful.
Yeah, these are comments from the chat, bro.
Yeah, I'm reading from the chat, yeah. Then somebody else is like, listen to Steve. Steve's right. I don't like it when people agree with Steve. I've got to go on record as saying that.
I'm not going to say...
Okay, so let's put Real Ghostbusters in the pending pile, okay?
Yeah, it's definitely in the pending pile.
Let me bring up another episode that hasn't been a home run listed yet. I mean, I think I named it, but I want to table it for debate. 2 Minutes to Midnight. I feel like that's one of the ones where I'm like, just solely based on the death intro.
Yeah.
Yeah. The pestilence, defeating of pestilence, the death intro, I think, and also just Crowley, Mark Shepard. I think in this episode, you really see the why Sarah and Carver and just they kept him around for so long. Because I think he just really cared. Not that everybody carries the episode, but you could really feel his weight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man.
I can get behind that, and it's also Phil Segrisha directed the.
Oh my God! It's a film class. That whole episode.
All right, should we lock that in?
I think if you want to know how to direct television, watch The Devil You Know and 2 Minutes to Midnight. Like back-to-back episodes, Bob Singer, Phil Segrisha, just amazing. And Steve Boyum. If you watched 1, 2, 3, Devil You Know, 2 Minutes to Midnight, and Swan Song, just like, hey, I wonder how one directs television. You're watching a clinic from Bob Singer, Phil Segrisha, and Steve Boyum, those last 3 episodes. So we definitely have 3 locked in?
Yeah, 3 locked in.
At some point, we should have a conversation of once we get over Jim Beaver's best performance, Mark Shepard's best performance.
Oh, I don't know if we can do that.
The episode that they owned,
We could give best episode.
Yeah, what is Jim Beaver's best episode? What is Mark Shepard's best episode? What is Richard Spate's best episode?
So here's a question. Okay, so we're talking about performances. It makes me bring up Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid.
That's what made me think of Jim Beaver.
Because of the emotional content of Jim Beaver and his wife. There's a lot going on there where they basically have to, Sam and Dean are kind of going, man, we gotta off dude's, Bobby's wife. I mean, that's from a character development standpoint, that's a solid episode for Bobby.
Yeah.
And for those boys. Now they're taking usually Bobby going, don't be idiots, you got to do A, B, and C. And now it's a bit of a role reversal where they have to say to Bobby, hey, man.
It's a great episode.
So these are the ones we know are on the list. Dark Side of the Moon, because then Fallen Idols. And Rich, I love the end, but Rich vetoes it because he hates.
Well, here's what I can say real quick.
It didn't stick with me.
Let me say real quick. Hearing people talk about these episodes can't help but flavor my opinion of what ones stand out, because there are certain episodes that are iconic. People quote them, reference them more often than not. You don't hear people reference Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid as much, but the end gets referenced. Dean and future Dean, that gets referenced. Misha being sort of the hippie with the harem of women, and
more like actual Misha.
More like actual Misha, yeah. Me saying hoard toilet paper. I feel like those things, I have to sign that more often than anything else I say. It feels like more iconic, maybe. That's how I feel about Changing Channels. It's just an iconic episode. Everybody talks about that episode, And Ghostbusters is a little bit that way too. I don't know. I guess that's...
Somebody's pointing out in the chat that I gave the end a full beard, which may be true.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
I'll take your word for it, Jennifer, because Lord knows I don't remember. I just don't remember thinking it's this top... if it came down between the end and Real Ghostbusters, I would lobby hard for Real Ghostbusters. If we were... Because right now we have 3 that are locked in, right? We have Swan Song, 2 Minutes to Midnight, and Changing Channels.
Hey, can I get a curious case for Dean Winchester from anybody? Anyone?
Oh, the Hal Ozen one.
It's just a good standalone episode to me in a season full of big mythology episodes.
I don't know if you want to give a standalone. I feel like there's too many important things happening in the big story, though. Mm-hmm. Do we have any standalone episode that's part of the... If that were the case, I would go 99 Problems, but I know that's not necessarily standalone. It's kind of dealing with the big story. Let's do this. So We have 3.
I was going to say, if we've got a 3, let's make it top 6. And each one of us says, I want this one in.
3 more.
Yeah. Each one of us makes a final pick that I'm going to lobby for this one.
I'll pick one more.
Yeah. We're going to have a top 6.
Okay.
Changing Channels, Swan Song, and 2 Minutes to Midnight are already on the list. So we each get one more pick.
Okay, I'm going to go first because I'm going to do this so Rob didn't have to. I'm going Real Ghostbusters. I think it's a standout. I know there's some debate. Some people don't love, maybe in the lens of history, it's not a perfect episode, but I think it's just unique. And I just thought it was a very cool and interesting and humorous take that could have gone pear-shaped. The boys could have been out of character at some point. They could have lost the toehold on being Sam and Dean. It could have been too goofy. It wasn't. It was well written. It was well directed. And the main supporting cast did a great job. I got to go Real Ghostbusters.
Very good.
All right, Rob, you're up.
All right, I'm gonna go The End. I know Rich has second thoughts about it, but I think it's an iconic episode written by Ben Edlund. It's unique and different, and we get to see great acting with Dean, Jensen acting with himself.
Right.
Yeah, and I like the vibe of it, which is almost like a future Armageddon, kind of post-Armageddon landscape that I kind of dig. So I'm going to say The End.
I'm going to go Abandon All Hope.
Abandon All Hope.
I'm going to go Abandon All Hope.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. I'm glad you did that.
I think Phil directed this episode, and made the death of Ellen and Joe is so well crafted. You could have, that could have been done off camera. The fact that Joe dies first, and the fact that they only worked because Ellen made that self-sacrifice, and there's that one moment where the boys are battling 8 demons.
Yeah,
and you got the Hellhound sequences in there, which are really cool.
Yeah, which are great.
Yeah.
And I think when we all watched it, it brought a tear to our eye.
Yeah, it was emotional.
It was really emotional, especially after it came right after the 1-2 punch of Changing Channels and Real Ghostbusters, to have such a kind of a heavy emotional episode. Not that what airing order should necessarily dictate the quality of the episode. It was just
I hear you.
So in no particular order, the episodes that we as a group have picked, which next week would all be probably different because there's so many good episodes to choose from: Changing Channels, The Real Ghostbusters, Swan Song, Abandon All Hope, The End, and 2 Minutes to Midnight.
Was your most recent one you just added The End?
Yeah. How many episodes is that?
Okay, so we have to
6.
We got to whittle it down.
What?
We're not there yet. Then we got to get to 5. We're gonna have to debate ourselves into 5.
Jesus.
So you said The End, Changing Channels, Real Ghostbusters, Abandon All Hope, 2 Minutes to Midnight, Swan Song. Right?
Yeah.
I think the debate is between The End, The Real Ghostbusters, and Abandon All Hope.
Well, here's the challenge right now. Now the new order is you have to pull one out. So now each of us have to pull one out.
Well, now what happened?
Yeah, I know.
Well, what if we all put one out? Then we're back to 3.
No, because now we've had to re-examine. I like that Abandon All Hope is back in the conversation. So now it's gotta make you rethink it. I mean, 5.
Jesus. Okay.
I'll start. I'll throw myself in the grade. I'm still pulling out The End. I think Changing Channels, Real Ghostbusters, Abandon All Hope, 2 Minutes to Midnight, and Swan Song are a powerful top 5. I'm pulling out The End.
I just because I don't like conflict, and just for the ease of it, and because I put it in there so it doesn't hurt anything to pull it out. I too will pull out The End.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, I'm gonna.
Hey, that's it. We did it. We did it.
All right, so we got a top 5 now, everybody. Top 5 in no particular order. Episode 508, Changing Channels. Number 509, The Real Ghostbusters. Our guests were Eric Kripke for both those episodes. Abandon All Hope. We had Phil Segrisha, the director. That's episode 510. Look at that, guys. 508, 509, and 510.
Yep.
3 in a row. 521, 2 Minutes to Midnight, directed by Phil Segrisha, and he was our guest. And 522, completely without debate, Swan Song, the season finale of season 5, written by Eric Kripke, obviously his love letter to the show, his last episode as showrunner for the show, directed brilliantly by Steve Boyum. So there we go.
Got it.
And by the way, to anybody out there going, you guys suck, you forgot, blah, blah, blah.
You're right.
We do suck. And there are
so many good episodes.
Many ways to slice this tomato. Could have had a lot of different top 5s here.
So many good episodes this season. This is probably the hardest one of these we've ever had to do, because it's really hard to pick a winner here, because you can't go wrong. All these episodes are really good.
But I do like where we landed here. And I think with 1 or 2 swaps in there, still would have been a great top 5.
Totally. Wow. We did it.
Hey, this is Jeffrey Dean Morgan. We are going to take a quick break.
I'm Brennan Storr.
I'm Paul Bestall.
We're the Ghost Story Guys.
And every 2 weeks, we explore first-person stories of encounters with the paranormal from all around the world.
Then we have some fun reacting to those stories. We like to say our goal is to scare the hell out of you, then make you laugh.
Belief in the paranormal is not required. All you need is a love of great storytelling and curiosity about the world around you.
Come find the Ghost Story Guys on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere else fine podcasts live, or at ghoststoryguys.com.
Hey, it's Jeffrey D. Morgan again. Welcome back to the podcast.
All right, so now we're gonna pull some questions from the chat room, the Q&A. I think, Rich, you were in one episode this season, right?
Two, Changing Channels and Hammer of the Gods.
Oh, that's right, 2 channels. And Rob, you were in 4?
4.
I was in Swan Song, Ghostbusters, The End, and the first episode, Sympathy for the Devil.
4. Yeah,
4.
You're a big chunk of the season. So, what from all of season 5, what most surprised you?
I wasn't expecting all the great guest star performances that I mentioned earlier. Like, I guess I just never put it together that, like, in my mind, and I'm sorry for saying this because it's so obvious to fans, but like, in my mind, Mark Sheppard didn't start until after season 5. So in my mind, he didn't start in season 5. So to introduce Sheppard is epic. And he's so great in it. I knew Pellegrino was a big part of this season, the big bad really for this season. But to see his performance is amazing. And then all these other, like that Jim Beaver gets such a good episode, that Kim Rhodes is introduced, that even that Chad Lindbergh comes back. And then you have one-off guest stars like Lex Medlin.
So great as Cupid.
Yeah. And anyway, so it's so many great episodes for guest stars. And obviously Rich and myself get some great stuff to do.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what I would call a surprise. I guess one of the things that was a surprise to me is I remember that Rob did Real Ghostbusters. I was reminded of it when we saw it. Like, oh, right. I remember Swan Song. I remember Abandon All Hope. I remember Changing Channels and my other episode. There are things I did not know that don't get really referenced at all, and that I thought were really good. I guess this was the surprise. There were some episodes that I thought were great that never get referenced, and that those would be Curious Case of Dean Winchester, Swap Meet, 99 Problems come to mind. And I don't think I hear that much about Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid. I know that there probably fans do in the fan universe, but from an outsider, I know it's weird to say I'm an outsider, but I'm an outsider.
Yeah.
I had not heard that discussed much, and I thought that resonated really emotionally.
I have to say, Hammer of the Gods is not an episode of yours that people talk about as much. So I forgot.
Except for that one line.
Right. But like, people talk so much about Changing Channels, but Hammer of the Gods is great episode that was not on my radar.
Yeah, so I guess my surprise would be how strong some of the standalone episodes, for lack of a better issue, they might not be total, for lack of a better name, they might not be total standalones, but they're not a continuation of the main story. I thought, again, some of those were really strong and don't get a lot of mention.
I also didn't know that we were going to meet all 4 horsemen. I didn't know all that was going to happen.
That was cool.
And Death. I mean, we have to say that too. The introduction of Death is amazing.
Well, we knew that was coming, though.
I knew that was coming. I couldn't have told you 3 years ago what season.
No, I couldn't have told you what season. I couldn't have told you what.
I only know I had seen that scene. Oh, and just the whole idea. Like, I'm continually surprised at how, for some reason in my mind, Sam and Dean were more observers of the wreckage that was happening around them with heaven and hell and angels fighting each other, and that they're so much more a part of it than I ever realized,
right?
That Sam at the end of the season is embodied by Lucifer and jumps into the pit with Michael. You know what I mean? That the boys are right in the middle of life and death, heaven and hell.
Right.
Yeah.
Heavily involved in all of this.
I always wonder when we have Eric on again, we have to ask him this question. When they introduced the character of Adam, Jake Gable's character at the end of season 4, did he do that specifically for the reason of like using him again in season 5? Like even Kim's character, Jody Mills, did Eric plant her so that she could be a resource going forward now that she's in on the fight? I always wonder that about like there are some characters that he's to specifically plant them that this could be a good character to go back to and use again and again. Yeah,
I don't think so. Just based on our interview with Eric recently about did he know that Rob was coming back or I was coming back? I don't think so. I think they have overreaching story ideas, but that'd be too much of a gamble too. Any of those actors could go off and do another show and you can't get them. So it has to be they discover, I wonder if we can do this. We can? Cool, let's do it. I saw someone's comment like it's a story about the Winchesters, and I totally get that. I guess my shock is just that they have, especially Sam, is imbibed with supernatural powers himself. They're not fighting against supernatural, like they're in it, and they've got he's got sort of superpowers.
I think when we interviewed Andrew, he used a very interesting term. He's like, they basically have evolved into demigods.
Yeah,
they're born and they die and they come back to life. Sam has superpowers. Dean
is the savior in a way.
They talk to angels. Like they're more than just human, and they're even supernatural themselves. To your point.
Right.
All right, I guess let's do a next question.
Is there a character from season 5 you're looking forward to seeing in future seasons?
I'm curious what Julian does next. I know he comes back. I'm curious where they take that character.
I'll tell you, and Rob and I are not bluffing. We don't have any clue what's going to happen in the next 3 seasons, 6, 7, and 8.
Yeah.
So it's all going to be news to me. So whatever Shepard does or Pellegrino, it's all going to be cool and interesting. Even Castiel and quite frankly, Sam and Dean. I have no idea.
Yeah. Well, and Kim Rhodes obviously comes back for quite a few.
Yeah, Kim Rhodes definitely, because she obviously comes back in a big way, and then Crowley too. Like Crowley ends up on the poster, like Mark Shepard ends up. So
yeah.
So he certainly takes a big role besides just riding shotgun.
He does something.
Rich, if there was an episode from season 5 you could direct, which one would you choose?
Good question.
None of them. I think they were brilliantly helmed by the people. I just never like to say that I would do like what makes this season work is how great everybody did at all of their work. And the directing is just, I mean...
One would you say like, oh, that looked like it was fun to direct?
Well, they all, I mean, I admire the heck out of the ones I already mentioned. Devil You Know, 2 Minutes to Midnight, Swan Song. Those are all just masterful episodes. Changing Channels seems like it was really fun. That's a Charles Beeson episode. Real Ghostbusters. That looked like it was really fun. I guess if I was going to, if you like, would it have been fun to do one? Real Ghostbusters, just because of the humor and working with Rob, and that would have been cool.
That would have been fun.
But again, it's just so, James Conway did it and did such a great job. There's just no one to say that I would redo what they did. I always feel like that's a. I never want to sound like, and Rob and I get this question as actors, like, what character would you play? And we're always quick to sort of honor the people who did the original work, because really that's why it works, because the people who did it nailed it. But I guess if in a way, if I could have embodied James Conway,
it was fun to talk to Phil Segrish. I don't know if this has aired yet, talking about 2 Minutes to Midnight. But we got to ask him, what was on the page and what was his idea as a director to shoot things in a certain way.
Now, here's an interesting question. So we're saying that season 5 is the best season so far, and I don't know if this is a fact, but it seems like it's one where it got the least amount of full beards. Is this because...
Which one? Season 5? I have an explanation for that, probably.
And Teresa speculates, are you raising your standards and making it harder because the episodes are so good?
Well, I think that might be the case.
I think also as podcasters, we're trying to just keep it fresh and not every time giving it a full beard. I mean, I think Rich and I were pleasantly surprised of the first 3 seasons, how many great episodes there were, because a lot of times people are like, wait till you get to season 4. Season 4 and 5 are great, but 1 through 3 were great.
I will say, but I can also say we had fewer full beards in season 5. Season 5 to me is season 4 and 5 is when the show starts to get really, really complex, right? I mean, not that it's never complex. Don't take it as an insult to the first 3 seasons, which I loved, but there's a lot of standalone episodes, and then you start to get angels introduced, and the web gets woven way more intricately. And I think sometimes for me as a viewer, sometimes exposition can drag. So there's some episodes where it'll be 3/4 home run and 1/4 really long ass scene of people talking about the stuff that's going to happen or already happened. And just for my own taste, that sometimes drags a little bit and kind of makes me give it not a Stapleton beard is one. And that's a lot in season 5. Also, whoever asked the question made a point that's true. When the bar gets raised, everything gets raised with it. So expectations get raised, and your assumption of what you're going to see gets raised. And so, a lot of times it's the I guess, the downfall of making outstanding work.
Yeah.
Because then you kind of hold it to that
I think it's both.
that standard.
Yeah, I think it's both. I think we do. Maybe our standard got higher, and also we want to keep it fresh.
Okay, 2 more questions and we're going to wrap it up. Who is your favorite horseman and why?
Oof. Well, I mean, I could go many ways with this question, but I'm going Death.
Yeah.
The intro is just amazing. It's just too great. So I got to go Death.
Yeah, and some of them were just kind of gross. I mean, Famine.
Yeah, it ain't Pestilence.
Pestilence is,
not because I don't love the actor.
He's awesome.
Matt.
But he's a gross horseman, and Famine was pretty gross.
Yeah.
Wait, who's the fourth one?
War. And Titus Welliver was
Titus
awesome.
was great. But yeah,
he's great, and his reveal is great. It's all awesome. But I gotta
go Death too. I mean,
and Julian Richings is perfectly cast. I mean, he's so good.
And the scene between him and Dean in the diner there or the pizza place is great.
Yeah.
You can't say I have no idea. It's not got to be an answer.
I have no idea.
Best guesses, best predictions for what happens in season 6.
Well,
I would assume Dean spends a good portion of the time trying to get Sam out of hell, out of the cage. Because now Sam is in the cage with Michael.
But how is Sam in the? What about that last shot where Sam's watching him from across the street? Is that Lucifer?
Oh, right. I forgot. They fall down in the pit. And
he's out. So, but
maybe Dean spends a lot of time figuring out how Sam got out.
We got to get Lucifer and Sam split up. So that's got to be part of it.
They got to get Lucifer out of Sam. They got to go down to the cage manufacturer and maybe sue because clearly the cage
maybe a
isn't holding anybody
locksmith
in.
To open the cage.
Yeah,
something's going to happen where Dean doesn't end up with.
I bet Dean leaves his wife.
Yeah, with this wife.
I guess.
So that's going to happen, and I bet you Mark Shepard has a lot to do. I bet you he comes and
Dean does not rectify the parenting wrongs of his own father. He bails on the kid.
Yeah, I think there's a power vacuum in hell, and Crowley comes back and wants to fill it.
Yeah, I think Crowley's going to be a little bit bad guy, a little bit good guy.
A little bit country, a little rock and roll.
Pellegrino's going to be still around. That's my guess.
That's a real vague guess.
I don't know. I mean, I really just don't know.
Cameras will be used to shoot the show. No, I'm with you. I don't either. I don't know. We're painting with a broad brush here, but yes. Exciting things.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
I have no idea. I'm very excited. And maybe some introductions of some new, like, I don't know when Osric Chow comes in at some point soonish.
Chowbaby.com.
Anyway, so we'll see. Some other of our favorites that we know from the convention world, but haven't seen their episodes.
We're very excited.
Thank you, everyone, for being a part of this.
Thank you, everybody, for being a part of this. We appreciate everything. And if anybody's worried about us reading spoilers in the chat, don't. We're not reading the chat. But thank you, everybody. We look forward to diving further into the well that is Supernatural as we kick off season 6 at some point.
Can't wait. We can't wait to keep it going. Thanks to everyone who's been listening so far. And thank you to our Patreon listeners for being here with us live in the studio. And we'll see you next season.
Yes, we will.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
I'm definitely not going first.
Steve, you're going first.
Go first, Steve. It's fine. It's not going to hurt my feelings. I'll do it. Let's pull out Ghostbusters if that's what people want to know.
No, you can't. You have to do what you think, Rob. You can't do it for Steve.
I'm really doing it more for the fans too. If people are offended by it.
No. You're not doing it for the fans either. This is Rob Bennick's opinion. Robbie, I like that our celebrity couple name is Raj.
Yeah, I heard that too. Raj.
He's like, so Raj. I don't have to say Rob and Rich. I just say Raj.
Raj. Hashtag Raj.
The boys have to
colt.
Have to colt.
Have the colt.
The boys have to colt and go.
Have the colt. All right. Ghostbusters would be, my episode, but no one seems to like that. So
hey, I voted for it. Just remember when you write your Christmas
cards. It was a valiant effort, but Steve led the charge away from it, and
But I think Swan's
kudos to Steve.
Swan song is great.
Never seen him get so worked up about an episode not being good.
Didn't say it's not good.
Story Mill Media.
Talmor, Sheshin Marachi. Talmor is my home. My family have worked the land for generations. My gran says the island does not belong to us, but we belong to the island. And we must be ready, for a great evil is coming, and death follows with it.
Listen and subscribe to the latest season of Undertow, The Harrowing, a Storyglass production presented by Realm, available wherever you get your podcasts.
With your long-forgotten name, we call upon you. We call upon you. In the words of the unspeakable language, we call upon you. We call upon you. By the spilt blood of the wicked, who walk upon this world, sprouting the words of false idols, we call upon you. We call upon you. On the land of the dead harvest, that which brings the earth itself into your service, Yamal, we call upon you. We call upon you. We call upon you. We call upon you. Yamal calls upon you. The Sprouting, a Call of Cthulhu actual play podcast by Blighthouse Studio. Find us on your podcatcher of choice.